Mio.
Yes?
They stopped, and he faced her, earnest and a bit tense. He took her hands in his. The future certainly won't be all roses. I will do my utmost to protect you from any hardship, but I am a soldier. There will be times when I will need to leave you to fight, and the battles I take part in are extremely dangerous. Then, there's the matter of my personality. I'm a bit of a bore, but I'd still like to be by your side. Would you marry me, difficult as I am?
You're not difficult at all. If anything, it's me who's going to be more trouble. Are you sure you won't regret having me as your wife?
Certainly. I chose you myself.
Well then, if you'd have me despite my many shortcomings, then I'd be happy to marry you.
No one was there to witness the vows of the couple standing in the middle of a busy street, but they didn't mind. They both preferred modesty to ostentation. Thank you, Mio. Smiling at each other, they set off toward their small, warm home. I get it. Time constraints and all that. But I would much rather have skipped that scene with Koji and Kaya, or even that scary scene with this weird ritual, rather than them cutting out this preciousness. I'm so frustrated. The Saimori house has burned down, forcing Mio's father and his wife to retire to the countryside like the losers they are, while Kaya is being dispatched to work in a famously strict household. Karma certainly has its way, doesn't it? While I would have liked for a more violent end to these people, the relief lies in knowing that Mio is now unburdened from their torment and she can stride into a future untroubled by dangers or complications and... oh boy, okay, who are we kidding? Maybe the Saimoris were the least of Mio's problems. The horizon remains shadowed with ominous elements between Mio's unsettling nightmares, the cryptic pronouncements of an aged emperor, his collaboration with someone audacious enough to vie for Mio, and the unsettling events unveiled in this episode. A blissful and happy ending may still be a ways away, but Mio is looking forward to the future. Now that she is officially engaged to Kyoka, she's eager to develop herself and is taking lessons from Kyoka's delightful older sister. And while this episode was a bittersweet end to a painful chapter in Mio's life, it also is the start of a new, albeit slightly uncertain one. We're just on the 7th episode of a 13-episode series, so bring on whatever's ahead. So not all is roses and sunshine, but we live in the moment and seize happiness when we can, right? That is the lesson that Mio is learning from Kyoka's older sister, Hozuki, whose vibe is so different than Mio's, and in my opinion is good for Mio too. Mio has lacked friendship all her life, and learning not to be so formal with those around her will help her immensely. Seeing her and Hozuki get along so well, and seeing her being so doted on, is enough to make my heart melt. I also like how Hozuki, as the older sister, knows her brother so well and teases him mercilessly about Mio. And honestly, he kinda needs it. It's not good for a man to take himself too seriously. And after having embarrassed Mio so much earlier, and making her blush, I think we as viewers deserve to see him get a little flustered. And speaking of positive vibes only, I am surprised but pleased that they chose to skip out on Mio's negative thoughts when she was seeing Hozuki tease Kyoka. In the source material, she feels almost lonely that she can't share on what the two siblings have. That, on top of her nightmares and preoccupations about worrying Kyoka with her inability to sleep, makes for a real downer. But the anime is gifting Mio with a sunnier perspective and a more optimistic outlook. At least for now. Although I can easily foresee this changing in the upcoming episode as the narrative veers into darker territory. But again, positive vibes only. I don't want to talk about scary and unsettling things for now. I will end up revisiting what I can only assume are the grotesqueries when we reach that hurdle. Thank you very much. Now, onto the content that diverged or was omitted in the anime. I can't stress enough how they committed a grave error in skipping the proposal scene. How dare they deprive me of it? I want my money back. Well, my only consolation is that I do have it within the manga's pages, and it was utterly exquisite. Next, there are a few variations in the final conversation between Koji and Mio. In the light novel, it said that he looked relieved that Mio didn't remember that time when he'd almost confessed his feelings, while here he looks wistful and melancholy. Their parting was a little bit more somber than in the manga, which emphasizes their friendship both in the past and in the future, as Koji symbolically gives Mio away to the man who will now be her protector. I especially love the manga panel where they're walking together while their childhood selves are reflected in a puddle that they cross. The light novel also makes it abundantly clear that all that happened to the Saimoris and the Taitsushis wasn't just a direct consequence of their actions. Kyoka had been the one to mete punishment out on them, achieving such arrangements not so much through discussion as with intimidation. But of course, he never told Mio about that. Mio did learn that he'd gone over to her house to speak to her father demanding an apology, and Mio is grateful that he went through such lengths on her behalf, alleviating his concern that he bore partial responsibility for the incident. Regarding the old tree trunk and the peculiar occurrence when Mio touched it, the light novel elaborates that she experienced a brief electric shock-like sensation in her head. Could this be related to her powers? Might her mother's life force be connected to the ancient cherry tree? We are left free to speculate. Additionally, both the light novel and the manga depict Mio's unease alongside her aspiration for self-improvement. We also see people repeatedly ask her if she's okay. Despite her denials though, Kyoka sees right through her facade. He knows that she suffers at night, but he can't help her unless she says something, and so he must content himself with only holding her hand until she calms down. The anime introduced some original scenes like the conversation between Kaya and Koji. This scene reveals that she's basically destitute. She's only able to take a few things with her, and much like Mio did when Mio left the Saimori home, Kaya must make her own way on public transportation. Fortunately for her, Koji is willing to give their future a chance, raising hopes that she'll reflect and grow. And well, that's all well and good, but I'm not willing to accept a redemption arc for her. The garden scene, also an original, was a delightful addition, aligning well with the overall positive vibes of this episode. On the other hand, the graveside ritual left me bewildered. Even seasoned light novel readers shared the confusion. I would have preferred they omit these unsettling scenes and restore instead the proposal scene. Come on, show, you're supposed to be a shoujo. Where are the sparkles and the rainbows? I demand them. I need heartfelt confessions of love. Okay, I'm only half joking. I genuinely enjoyed this episode and hope that you did too. What do you anticipate in the upcoming arc? Could that individual aiming for Mio pose a credible threat? Considering Kyoka's formidable powers, it's hard to envision anyone daring to come between him and the woman he loves, let alone succeed in taking Mio. But we'll have to see. And by the way, I'm so resigned to Kadokawa copyright claiming my videos that it's not even sad at this point that I'm doing free marketing over here for those ingrates. Still, if you appreciate these reviews, share them or at least give them a thumbs up. And hey, if you're so inclined, I have a Ko-fi page. Feel free to buy me a Ko-fi as a tip. And many thanks to all of you lovelies who are already monthly supporters. Love you so much. Can't wait for next week. I'll see you then. Take care.